5 years ago, on my 21st birthday, I was wrongly convicted of corporate espionage and sent to prison. Betrayed by my fiancé, Lucas, and my adoptive sister, Victoria, I was devastated. Imprisoned, I learned to survive, gaining knowledge and a steely resolve. My adoptive mother, Claire, revealed a shocking truth. I was William Scott's biological daughter, and my family had framed me. Now, reborn from the ashes, I'm back, ready to expose the truth and reclaim my life. But the road to justice is paved with dangerous games, betrayal, and unforeseen revelations. The fight for my freedom is far from over. Chapter 1. The Abyss of Betrayal. Emma Hayes stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing down at the city lights below. Tomorrow was her 21st birthday, and also the day of her engagement to Lucas Montgomery. 5 years ago, she was just an unremarkable orphan from the children's home. Now she was about to marry into one of the wealthiest families, becoming the wife of the heir to Montgomery Enterprises. It all felt like a dream. "What are you thinking about?" Victoria pushed open the door, carrying an elegant gift box in her hands. "This is your birthday present. I wanted to give it to you early." "Vicky, you're too kind." Emma accepted the box. Inside was a sapphire bracelet that sparkled under the light. "It's a sister bracelet. I have one too." Victoria raised her wrist, revealing a matching bracelet. "No matter what happens in the future, we'll always be sisters." Emma's eyes grew moist. Since being adopted by William Scott at 15, Victoria had shown her nothing but care and affection, never treating her as an outsider. Though rumors circulated that Victoria was jealous of Emma for earning their father's love, in Emma's heart, Victoria would always be her dearest sister. The next morning, Emma met Lucas in the garden of the Scott mansion. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows across his handsome face. "Emma," Lucas squeezed her hand tightly, "no matter what happens, I'll always protect you." In that moment, Emma believed she was the luckiest girl in the world. But happiness proved fleeting. A week later, Scott Enterprises discovered that important trade secrets had been leaked. Their competitor, Eastwind Group, had launched an identical product ahead of schedule, causing massive losses for Scott Enterprises. An internal investigation pointed to Emma. Her computer contained copies of confidential files. Her bank account suddenly showed an unexplained transfer of $500,000, and there was even surveillance footage of her meeting secretly with an Eastwind executive. In the Scott family living room, Emma faced William's furious accusations, unable to defend herself. "Dad, I really don't know how these files got there, and that money wasn't deposited by me." "The evidence is conclusive. What else do you have to say?" William was burning with anger. "I treated you like my own daughter, and this is how you repay me." Victoria stood to the side, her expression complex. "Emma, I've always treated you like a real sister. How could you do this to our family?" Most heartbreaking to Emma was Lucas's reaction. He stood in the corner, his gaze cold, as if he had never loved her. "Lucas, do you believe me?" Emma asked desperately. "I checked the surveillance records," Lucas said in a low voice. "You asked me 3 times about where the confidential files were kept. Emma, I don't want to believe it, but evidence doesn't lie." On the day of the trial, the courtroom was packed. Emma wore a simple white dress, like a lamb about to be slaughtered. Lucas testified as a key witness, each of his words stabbing Emma's heart like a knife. "Defendant Emma Hayes, this court finds you guilty of corporate espionage and sentences you to 5 years in prison." When the gavel fell, Emma's world came crashing down. That night, in the cold prison cell, Emma cried silently. Recalling the events before her arrest, she suddenly remembered seeing 2 shadowy figures operating at her computer in the blind spot of William's office security camera. Who were they? Who would frame her like this? Outside the iron bars, moonlight spilled in like water. Emma wiped away her tears, a new determination forming in her eyes. "No matter who it is, I will come back, uncover the truth, and seek justice." Prison life was harder than Emma had imagined. Bullying from other inmates, harassment from guards, and days without sunlight nearly drove her to the breaking point. But just when she was at her most desperate, an older female inmate extended a helping hand. "Just call me Aunt Claire," the woman said kindly. "Looking at you, I can tell you're not the type to commit crimes." With Aunt Claire's help, Emma gradually adapted to prison life. What surprised her more was that Claire not only taught her how to survive in prison, but also imparted knowledge of finance, business, and social networking. "Why are you helping me?" Emma asked one day. Claire smiled mysteriously. "Because I know William Scott, and I'm aware of many secrets in the Scott family. You were framed, child. When you get out, I'll leave you enough resources to reclaim what's rightfully yours." "Who are you?" Emma asked in surprise. "I'm Claire Bennett, William's ex-wife, your adoptive mother." Claire's answer struck Emma like lightning. Now she understood why Victoria's hatred ran so deep. She had taken her father's love, and now she was taking Lucas too. "Remember, revenge isn't the goal. Truth and justice are," Claire said earnestly. "Right now, you're too weak. You must learn to wait for the right moment." 5 years behind bars completely transformed Emma Hayes. The once naive and fragile young girl had vanished, replaced by a calm, strong, and wise woman. She no longer cried, no longer showed weakness. She had only one belief: regain freedom, expose the truth, and make everyone who betrayed her pay the price. Chapter 2: The Phoenix Reborn. Morning sunlight streamed through the prison gates as Emma Hayes walked out, carrying her meager belongings. 5 years of imprisonment had ended, but she knew the real battle was just beginning. Outside, a discreetly luxurious black sedan waited quietly. A young man in a suit leaned against the car. When he saw Emma, he broke into a warm smile. "Long time no see, Emma." "Ethan?" Emma was surprised to see her childhood friend from the orphanage. "How did you?" "We'll talk in the car." Ethan opened the door. "This isn't the place for conversation." Inside the car, Ethan handed Emma a hot coffee. "I've been following your case all these years. After graduation, I joined a law firm, and now I'm a partner." "You came specifically to pick me up?" Emma was touched, her eyes reddening. "Not just to pick you up, but to give you some news." Ethan's expression turned serious. "Claire Bennett, your Aunt Claire from prison, passed away last year due to illness." Emma's heart sank as she thought of the woman who had taught her so much in prison, tears nearly spilling over. "She left a will, bequeathing you a downtown apartment and some assets." Sedan pulled into a high-end apartment building in the city center. The top-floor duplex was spacious and bright, with the entire city visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. Emma entered the master bedroom, where a safe was installed in the wall. Ethan handed her a set of keys. "The code is your birthday." Inside the safe were cash, documents, bank books, and an elegant box. The box contained a code book, a letter, and a USB drive. "Dear Emma," the letter read, "when you read this, I will have passed away. But please believe that death cannot stop me from helping you." This USB drive contains secrets of the Scott family, and the codebook records my network of contacts and resources. Remember, revenge is not about venting hatred, but about restoring truth and reclaiming the life that belongs to you, Claire Bennett. At the end of the letter was a shocking revelation. 18 years ago, William Scott had a secret affair. The woman gave birth to a baby girl before passing away. That baby was you. William sent you to an orphanage, only bringing you back home 5 years ago. He never dared tell you the truth, but his love for you was genuine. Emma dropped the letter in shock, as if struck by lightning. She was William Scott's biological daughter? The secret was so monumental that she couldn't process it immediately. In the days that followed, Emma transformed herself according to Claire's instructions. She cut her long hair short and dyed it a cool silver gray, paired with sophisticated makeup and high-end suits, exuding the aura of a career elite. To avoid being recognized, she started fresh under the name Emma Gray. Through Claire's network of contacts, she successfully entered Eastwind Group, the very competitor that had allegedly received stolen trade secrets from her 5 years ago. Ironically, 5 years ago, she was accused of working for Eastwind. Now she truly became an Eastwind employee. With the financial knowledge and business acumen taught by Claire, Emma quickly earned the appreciation of Gabriel Reed, the group's president, and was promoted to special assistant, participating in the company's core decisions. Gabriel was a legendary figure in the business world and William Scott's longtime business rival. "You're special," Gabriel commented. "There's a resilience and patience in your eyes that most people don't have." "Those who have been through hell appreciate the sunlight more," Emma replied calmly. Eastwind Group planned to collaborate with Scott Enterprises on a major project, giving Emma the opportunity to approach the Scott family, At the project launch reception, Emma attended as Gabriel's assistant and immediately recognized Victoria and Lucas in the crowd. 5 years had passed, and Victoria looked more radiant than ever. She had become vice president of Scott Enterprises, standing as the company's second-in-command. Lucas served as director of overseas operations, responsible for the group's most important expansion projects. Most surprising to Emma was that they stood closely together, wearing matching wedding rings. So, shortly after her imprisonment, Lucas had become engaged to Victoria, and a year later they married. For Emma, this was the ultimate betrayal. The man she loved had married her adoptive sister, who was likely the one who had framed her. "Miss Gray, this is Vice President Scott from Scott Enterprises," Gabriel introduced. "I've heard so much about you." Emma extended her hand, her voice so calm it surprised even herself. Victoria politely shook hands, completely failing to recognize that the silver-haired woman before her was the stepsister she had framed and sent to prison 5 years ago. "This is Director Montgomery, Scott Enterprises Overseas Director and Vice President Scott's husband," Gabriel continued. When Lucas shook hands with Emma, his brow furrowed slightly, as if sensing something familiar about her. Emma gazed at him calmly, though her heart surged with emotion. "I feel like we've met somewhere before," Lucas probed. "Perhaps in a dream." Emma smiled in response, though her eyes were cold as ice. After the reception, Emma stood on the balcony taking a deep breath. Tonight was the first step. She had successfully infiltrated her enemy's field of vision. Next, she would gradually uncover the truth of 5 years ago and make everyone who betrayed her pay the price. The night breeze caressed her face as Emma looked up at the moon. 5 years in prison hadn't broken her, it had forged her anew. Now this phoenix had spread its wings, ready to peck away at the flesh of those who had hurt her, piece by piece. Chapter 3: The Opening Gambit. With the official launch of the collaboration between Eastwind Group and Scott Enterprises, Emma, as the project coordinator, had more opportunities to interact with the Scott family. She moved cautiously, gathering evidence while planning her revenge. With Ethan's help, Emma obtained the case files and evidence from years ago. All the evidence against her was meticulously connected, impressively professional. Most suspicious was the surveillance footage. There were clips of her entering the archives room, but none of her leaving, as if she had vanished into thin air. The video was edited, Ethan pointed out, and very professionally too. Most people wouldn't notice the inconsistencies. Who would have both the technical ability and the motive? Emma pondered. Based on information left by Claire, Emma visited former classmates and friends who had testified against her with damaging statements. One former best friend confessed after a few drinks that someone had paid her to emphasize in her testimony how curious Emma had been about Scott Enterprises' trade secrets. She said she was just helping Scott Enterprises gather evidence of your disloyalty, that you wouldn't go to prison, the friend said guiltily. Who knew things would escalate so much? Who put you up to it? Emma pressed. Victoria. She even said it was for your own good, to help you see Lucas's true nature. This answer confirmed Emma's suspicion. Victoria was the mastermind. But one person's word wasn't enough proof. She needed more concrete evidence. Meanwhile, problems arose in the Eastwind Scott collaboration. Scott Enterprises proposed terms that were extremely unfavorable to Eastwind, clearly trying to suppress their competitor. Gabriel sent Emma to Scott headquarters to negotiate. Ms. Gray, Victoria received Emma in her luxurious office. I hear you're highly valued at Eastwind. You flatter me. Vice President Scott is the true business legend, Emma responded with dignity. For some reason, you look familiar to me. Victoria narrowed her eyes. Perhaps it's fate, Emma smiled lightly. During negotiations, Emma challenged Victoria at every turn, pointing out the unfair clauses in the contract with such firmness that even Victoria was surprised. Left with no choice, Victoria personally visited Eastwind Group, hoping to negotiate directly with Gabriel. Emma was prepared for this. Through Claire's network, she discovered that Victoria was having an affair with a famous actor. As Victoria arrived at Eastwind headquarters, Emma arranged for paparazzi to accidentally encounter Victoria and the actor in the lobby, capturing intimate photos which were immediately published. The news exploded instantly. Victoria's extramarital affair became a trending topic. Lucas faced public pressure, Scott Enterprises' stock price took a hit, and Victoria's business image was severely damaged. In her desperate situation, Victoria asked her assistant to contact a mysterious figure to help suppress the news. This person was none other than Adrian Wells, Scott Enterprises' legal advisor and media manipulation expert, who had helped her frame Emma years ago. Emma saw Adrian entering the Scott building on surveillance cameras. The name reminded her of a record in Claire's codebook. Adrian Wells, professional legal advisor, skilled in media manipulation and evidence fabrication, closely connected to Victoria. That evening, Emma invited Victoria to meet at an upscale restaurant, indicating that Eastwind was willing to reconsider the collaboration terms. During the meal, Victoria kept receiving messages about the changing tide of public opinion, which eased her anxiety. As expected of Vice President Scott, impressive crisis management skills, Emma raised her glass in tribute. Business is like warfare. One must always have a few cards up one's sleeve, Victoria said smugly. Before parting, Emma casually gave Victoria an exquisite small box, just a small token of goodwill. Back in her car, Victoria opened the box and instantly turned pale. Inside was the sister bracelet she had given Emma 5 years ago, with their names engraved on the back of the pendant. This was an unmistakable signal. No two identical bracelets could exist in the world. Victoria fearfully looked toward the restaurant, but the silver-haired woman had already vanished into the night. She hurriedly called Adrian. "We have a big problem. Emma is back." Meanwhile, Lucas was organizing the Eastwind-Scott collaboration documents when he accidentally discovered detailed information about Emma Gray. Something about the eyes in the photograph made him uneasy, as if he had seen them before. He decided to meet this mysterious assistant in person. The next day, Lucas arranged a meeting with Emma under the pretext of project coordination. They spoke privately in a conference room at Eastwind Group. "Your analysis is very incisive," Lucas complimented, "as if you have intimate knowledge of Scott Enterprises' internal operations. Business fundamentals are universal. It's just a matter of observation," Emma responded coolly. Throughout their conversation, Lucas kept studying Emma's every move, finding her increasingly familiar. When Emma unconsciously revealed a scar on her wrist, Lucas's eyes fixed on it. That was a distinctive scar Emma Hayes had gotten from an accident at the orphanage in her youth. "Emma?" Lucas blurted out in shock. The atmosphere in the conference room froze. Emma calmly looked up, her gaze sharp as a knife. "It's been a long time, Director Montgomery." Lucas seemed thunderstruck. You're out of prison? Since when?" "What's the matter? Afraid?" Emma sneered. "You were so quick to distance yourself back then, and now you're afraid I'm back for revenge?" "It's not what you think," Lucas explained urgently. "I tried to investigate the truth back then, but the evidence was so compelling, even I had to believe." "So you chose to marry my stepsister?" Emma said sarcastically. "A perfect betrayal." Lucas was speechless, his face filled with guilt. "Did you ever watch the complete surveillance footage? Did you ever trace where that money really went?" Emma pressed relentlessly. "As my fiancé, you couldn't even give me the most basic trust. What right do you have to explain anything now?" With that, Emma turned and left, leaving Lucas standing there, overcome with pain. He began to doubt his judgment from 5 years ago and decided to reinvestigate the case. After learning Emma's identity, Victoria was terrified. She and Adrian plotted their next move, with Adrian suggesting they quickly dispose of any remaining evidence to prevent Emma from clearing her name. "What evidence is still out there?" Victoria asked nervously. "The original surveillance footage," Adrian frowned. "We only altered the copy submitted to the court. The original backup might still be in the company archives." Adrian had people follow Emma, monitoring her every move. At the same time, he arranged for staff to clean out backup materials from the archives room. However, Emma was prepared. She deliberately went alone to a secluded parking garage one evening to lure her followers into the open. In the darkness, 2 masked men suddenly attacked Emma. At the critical moment, Ethan arrived with backup and subdued the assailants. Under interrogation, they confessed they were sent by Adrian to warn Emma to mind her own business. This attack only strengthened Emma's resolve for revenge. She knew the truth was about to surface, and her opponents would become even more dangerous. A storm was coming, and she was ready to face it. Chapter 4. Truth and Choice. As her investigation deepened, Emma finally discovered the most crucial evidence in the safe left by Claire, a backup surveillance recording from the Scott family study. This was what Claire had risked stealing from the Scott archives and hidden away. The recording clearly showed Victoria and Adrian breaking into the study late at night, planting files on Emma's computer and making the transfer. Their conversation directly confirmed the conspiracy. "This will ruin her reputation, right?" Victoria asked in the recording. "Rest assured, this evidence is enough to send her to prison. Lucas will be completely disappointed in her," Adrian answered smugly. Watching the recording, Emma felt as if knives were twisting in her heart. She had always suspected Victoria was behind it all, but seeing the evidence firsthand, the pain was still indescribable. Even more shocking was the appearance of a third person at the end of the recording, Lucas. He stood outside the door, apparently witnessing part of the process, yet turned and left without intervening. Ethan analyzed, "This recording is enough to prove your innocence, but making it public could trigger larger repercussions. Scott Enterprises' stock would plummet, and William's health might not withstand such a shock." Emma fell into deep thought. Revenge had been her motivation throughout 5 years in prison, but now, faced with concrete evidence, her heart held more than just hatred. She recalled Claire's words, "Revenge is not the goal. Truth and justice are." Just as Emma was considering her next move, unexpected news arrived. William Scott had suffered a heart attack due to overwork and was rushed to the hospital. Despite her complex feelings, Emma anonymously sent a rare foreign medicine that saved her adoptive father's life. Outside the hospital room, Emma accidentally overheard a conversation between William and Lucas. "Lucas, I've always felt something was wrong with Emma's case," the weakened William said. "All these years, I've had people quietly looking after her and investigating the truth. If she's innocent, I've failed her as a father." "I feel the same way," Lucas replied softly. "Recently, I've been reinvestigating the case and found some discrepancies. If the truth isn't what we thought, we both owe Emma an apology." Hearing this, the ice in Emma's heart began to melt. So, her adoptive father hadn't completely distrusted her and had even been protecting her all along. And Lucas had begun to question his earlier judgment. But Victoria's betrayal and Lucas's hesitation remained wounds in her heart that wouldn't easily heal. Emma decided to implement her final plan. She set a double trap. First, she met with Adrian, deliberately indicating that she knew he was involved in framing her, but was willing to settle privately for a large sum of money. The entire conversation was secretly recorded. Adrian initially denied everything, but after Emma showed some partial evidence, he became overconfident and admitted to the conspiracy, even revealing that Victoria was the mastermind, motivated by jealousy over Emma receiving their father's affection and Lucas's love. "Victoria was pampered all her life. Why would she do this to me?" Emma asked painfully. "You're too naive," Adrian smirked. "She saw you as her greatest threat. William loved you more than her, and Lucas chose you over her. She hated you to the point of madness." With this recording in hand, Emma deliberately leaked to Victoria that she possessed decisive evidence and would make it public at Eastwind Group's annual meeting. As expected, the panicked Victoria immediately conspired with Adrian to eliminate Emma. Meanwhile, Lucas discovered Victoria and Adrian's secret meetings during his investigation. He tracked down Adrian and found the truth about the old case on his office computer. All the evidence had been carefully fabricated to frame Emma, allowing Victoria to have Lucas. Lucas was shocked and immediately went to Eastwind Group to warn Emma. But he was too late. As soon as he arrived at the Eastwind building, he received news that Ethan had been kidnapped. The kidnappers demanded Emma come alone to an abandoned warehouse, or they would kill Ethan. "It's Victoria's trap." Lucas stopped Emma as she prepared to go. "Let me help you save Ethan." "Why would you help me?" Emma asked coldly. "You didn't even give me basic trust back then." "Because I owe you," Lucas said painfully. "Back then, I did notice some suspicious points, but I didn't persist in investigating. These 5 years, I've been tormented by guilt. Now, let me make up for some of my mistakes." Emma hesitated briefly before nodding in agreement. They devised a thorough plan. Lucas would lead a team to the warehouse to rescue Ethan, while Emma would continue preparing the evidence for the Eastwind annual meeting. At the warehouse, Lucas led security personnel in a fierce battle with Adrian's men and successfully rescued Ethan. Adrian, however, escaped in the chaos. After being rescued, Ethan told Emma that his kidnappers had inadvertently revealed that Victoria and Adrian had an even bigger plot. They not only planned to eliminate Emma, but also intended to seize control of the entire Scott Enterprises. They mentioned a will, Ethan recalled. Apparently, William Scott had made other arrangements, and Victoria was terrified about it. Emma pondered this thoughtfully. The Eastwind annual meeting was tomorrow. Faced with enemies closing in from all sides, she found herself in a dilemma. Proceed with the plan to expose the evidence and completely crush Victoria, potentially hurting her adoptive father, or abandon revenge in favor of forgiveness and reconciliation. Late that night, Lucas came to Emma's apartment with a thick folder. "These are all the materials from my private investigation over the past 5 years," he said sincerely. "And these." He took out a stack of letters, each addressed to Emma, dated from her first day in prison to recently. "I wrote countless times but never had the courage to send them," Lucas's voice choked. "My cowardice and doubt back then were the biggest mistakes of my life. Not a day has gone by that I haven't regretted it." Emma opened the letters to find pages filled with longing and remorse. She looked up at Lucas and saw tears in his eyes. "I don't ask for forgiveness. I just hope you'll read these and understand the torment I've been through." Lucas stood to leave. "At tomorrow's annual meeting, whatever decision you make, I'll stand by you." Watching Lucas walk away, the ice in Emma's heart continued to melt. Beyond hatred, those feelings she had deeply buried began to silently resurface. Chapter 5, Phoenix Reborn. The Eastwind Group annual meeting proceeded as scheduled, with business elites gathering from all sectors. As a special guest, Emma wore a deep red gown, like a phoenix reborn from the ashes. Victoria and William also attended the event, while Lucas stood to the side, his expression complex. After Gabriel's opening speech, he invited Emma to address the audience. All lights focused on her as she surveyed the crowd, her gaze finally landing on Victoria. "Distinguished guests, I want to share a story about justice, betrayal, and redemption." Emma's voice was calm yet powerful. 5 years ago, a young woman was framed and sent to prison. Today, I want to reveal the truth. The screen displayed a video, the footage of Victoria and Adrian fabricating evidence in the study. Then came the recording of Adrian confessing to the conspiracy. The audience erupted in shocked murmurs. "I am that framed girl, Emma Hayes." Emma revealed her identity. 5 years in prison taught me the complexity of human nature and made me value truth and justice even more. Victoria's face turned ashen as she tried to flee, only to be stopped by security. William stared at the screen in shock, his body trembling slightly. "The police have received all relevant evidence. Adrian Wells was arrested this morning," Emma announced, causing another wave of commotion. Victoria broke down screaming, "You stole everything first. Father's love, Lucas's heart, even the future of Scott Enterprises. Do you know Father planned to leave you most of the family fortune?" "Enough," William shouted sternly. "Emma, is this all true? Did Victoria frame you?" "Yes, Father," Emma answered calmly. William staggered, seeming to age a decade in an instant. He walked to Emma and slowly knelt. "I'm sorry, daughter. It was my failure, my misplaced trust that caused your suffering." The room fell silent. Emma bent down to help her father up. "You needn't apologize. You were a victim, too." "No, I was wrong," William insisted. "As a father, I should have believed in you unconditionally, protected you, but I failed in that responsibility." Looking at her adoptive father's aged face, Emma's long-harbored hatred gradually dissolved. "I forgive you, but I won't return to the Scott family. Some wounds need time to heal." After the police arrived, Victoria was formally arrested. Faced with irrefutable evidence, she finally confessed to all her crimes. She admitted that she had not only envied Emma for winning their father's affection, but was even more jealous of her capturing Lucas's love. She had conspired with Adrian to frame Emma, aiming to eliminate this threat and gain Lucas in the process. After the storm, Emma returned to her apartment to find Ethan and Lucas waiting for her. "Did you finish reading Claire's letter?" Ethan asked. Emma nodded. The letter suggested I might be William Scott's biological daughter. Not just might be. Ethan handed her a DNA test report. This is a test I secretly conducted. The result is conclusive. You are indeed William Scott's biological daughter. This truth hit like a thunderbolt. No wonder her adoptive father had been especially fond of her, and no wonder Victoria had been so wary. Everything made sense now. There's one more thing you should know, Lucas spoke up. My marriage to Victoria was forced. During William's serious illness, Victoria controlled most of the company's shares and threatened the company's survival to make me marry her. I agreed, but never touched her, which is another reason she hates me. Emma remained silent for a long time, finally understanding all the mysteries. Late that night, she stood alone on the balcony, looking at the stars. 5 years in prison had brought her not just the satisfaction of revenge, but also important truths about her life. 1 year later, Emma founded her own company, Phoenix Foundation, focused on helping wrongfully accused vulnerable groups. She and Lucas jointly established a legal aid project to provide help for defendants who couldn't afford lawyers. William retired and often visited her, gradually mending their father-daughter relationship. Victoria began to confront her twisted jealousy in prison, while Adrian was sentenced to a lengthy term for multiple crimes. The video from the East Wind annual meeting became a classic case study in law schools, reminding people that evidence can be fabricated and truth often takes time to surface. Another year passed. At Emma's company anniversary celebration, Lucas knelt on one knee and proposed to her again. I failed you 5 years ago, and I'll spend my life making it up to you. If you're willing to give me a chance, I'll protect your happiness for the rest of my life. Emma looked at this man who had regretted and fought for her, and nodded gently. What's past is past. What matters is the future. At the wedding, Emma wore a phoenix-themed gown symbolizing rebirth, radiating beauty. William proudly walked his daughter down the aisle as her father. Ethan served as best man, tearfully congratulating his longtime friend on finally finding happiness. Most surprisingly, Emma specially invited her former prison mates to attend the wedding. She hadn't forgotten who had given her hope and strength during her darkest days. From cage to phoenix, your transformation has moved us all, her former inmates sincerely blessed her. At the wedding, Emma gave a brief speech. Life's greatest courage isn't revenge, but forgiveness. The greatest wisdom isn't remembering, but letting go. I'm thankful for those dark years that taught me strength, and for those wounds that helped me grow. Now I've let go of hatred and continue forward with love and hope. Lucas squeezed her hand and whispered, through good times and bad, I'll always be by your side. As night fell, the newlyweds danced under the stars. The once caged phoenix now soared high, not only healing her own wounds, but also lighting hope for others. This phoenix, reborn from the ashes, had finally found her own happiness and fulfillment. The end.